Hello and welcome to the Face of Pro-Life. Today I'm speaking with Friar Gabriel Cortes, and if you missed our first show with him, you missed a lot. But to recap, he received his calling basically through the intervention of Our Lady, his mother, and by lots of Eucharistic adoration. But could you just tell us a little bit about the exact moment that you knew that you wanted to become a friar and dedicate your life to God?
Yeah, I can't really put my finger on the actual moment.
Right. Like you didn't get hit by lightning or anything like that.
It wasn't like some people experience that. It's like, oh, I just knew at that moment that I was supposed to be a priest or religious or whatever. But I didn't actually have that because it was more of an unmarked transition.
More like a nudge.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain, but once I started going to adoration, and the way in which I did that was explained in part 1 of this. After I started maintaining that daily schedule of, 3 masses a day, because they were all celebrated consecutively, early in the morning. They're at St. Gregory the Great Parish in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And then, afterwards saying my Station at the Cross and biking to school and, getting a lift back home with my mother. And then, just kind of reading my Bible and staying in my room and then going to adoration with her in the evening and maintaining that schedule for a long time. By that time, I had kind of set aside skateboarding and set aside all my friends. And as I mentioned earlier in the last interview, my eldest brother, Daniel, he mentioned to me, later on, much later on, when the friary, he goes, it was as if you were dead.
Wow.
He's just like, where is he? He's just, we don't see him anymore. He doesn't hang out with us anymore.
Dead to the family.
Dead,
yeah. Just
completely dead to society, really, because I didn't do it. I was a bit of a recluse, a bit of a hermit. And I took great joy in that. And I just wake up and just the peace I experienced, I was like, this is unbelievable. I was like, we're so busy catering to personalities, trying to please so-and-so, trying to, running after this, life can be, it doesn't have to be, but it can be a bit of a rat race of ambition and, success. And I was
not even a rat race of ambition or success. I mean, you get up and do the laundry, you get the kids off to school. I mean, it's
you got your domestic task. There's a lot of concern. People have their own concerns, and so it may not be ambition or whatever, but it may be just complete
life.
Life, you're completely consumed by the necessities of it. But when I was maintaining the schedule, which was a very religious, a monastic aeromedical schedule routine, it was like in that time period, in that year, because that was about a year and several months of that before I actually entered religious life. And so it was during that time that if you want to kind of use, an analogy, it was like film, the old type of film, where you take the picture and, gradually you see the image. That's how I look at it.
Right, like a Polaroid.
It's like a Polaroid, you gotta, air it out, and then you can look at it a little bit and then air it out again until the image shows up. And that's when, once the image kind of showed itself, I knew it was supposed to be religious. But it was gradual. It was kind of gradual. And I kind of knew I knew I was to be a religious, to dedicate my life in a extraordinary way to God's service, As I mentioned in the earlier interview, whatever I do, whatever I take on, whatever, enterprise I kind of, engage in, I do it with a lot of passion and energy. And so it was in that time, and let me just mention this, that my mother, she had a picture of St. Francis in her room. I had no idea, I didn't know religious orders or this, the Carthusians, the Franciscans, the Dominicans, the Carmelites. I had no concept of religious orders. I knew diocesan priests because we grew up with them.
Sure.
I didn't know really much of. I mean, we didn't visit the Carmelites in New Hampshire, Concord, New Hampshire. Some Carmelite nuns, but I didn't really make anything of that. So I didn't really know anything about that. But she had a picture. Nevertheless, she had a picture of St. Francis, and it's quite a famous picture of St. Francis holding Christ on the cross. Mm-hmm. And one of Christ's hands is freed from one of the nails and is embracing St. Francis, and St. Francis is embracing our Lord, and St. Francis is stepping on the world as a sign of his, as a sign of his detachment from the world. And his abandonment of the ordinary things of life, and so I actually took that picture without her permission, out of her room, put it in my room, put it with the two candles I stole from the church. Here I was breaking every rule in the book, thinking I'm doing the right thing, Didn't even put any money didn't put any coins in the little candle box, but I thought to myself, as I was saying my rosary, as I was reading my Bible, I was going in adoration, and just looking at this picture, it was quite a beautiful picture. I loved it. I was like, wow, that's awesome. I was like, I want to be that. Interesting. It's just that was like the it was like the little kernel. I want to be that. That's kind of cool.
Like a role model. It's right there.
Yeah. It's like, that's. I mean, he's Christ is bleeding from the cross, and he's hanging on with one hand. He's bracing St. Francis, and St. Francis is just as much crucified as he is, and he's embracing our Lord on the cross, and he's stepping on the world, and there's nothing else that matters,
Right.
And I was just like,
that's definitely where you were at that point.
Yeah, I was like, that's. I want to be that. I didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
I didn't know I didn't know he was the founder of 3 orders. First order of friars, second order of sisters, and the third order. And he was this big founder. I had no idea. Just when I was like, I want to be that. Very simple. But God is simple. So that's very often how He works with simple people. And so, interestingly enough, here I am, Franciscan friar. And just pray and hope that I can be faithful to the end. With it. But yeah, so it's kind of like it was. So yeah, just to kind of answer your question, it was like a gradual transition. It was a gradual manifestation of a vocation that I believe God was expecting me to embrace, and that which Our Lady was offering me to accept.
Now, at the end of our last show, we just mentioned, we only had a very short period of time to talk about you being stationed in Australia. Mm-hmm. I wanted to get a little bit more involved in the ministry that you have been involved in Australia. What is your what are your duties there? What are you called to do there?
Well, yeah, in Australia, as in every other convent. Throughout the world of the FI, the Franciscans of the Immaculate, the schedule is for the most part the same. Rising early, saying, praying the office, and maintaining the schedule. Prayer and work and so forth. But we also we look after the old the old Convent of Mercy, which is now we turned into a retreat accommodation, Our Lady Help of Christians Retreat Center. So we maintain that. We look after that. There's group retreats and individual retreats and so forth, and so we run that. It's very enjoyable. The setting is very nice, and also we have our prayer groups, our Marian Family Cenicals, MFCs, in the city. So we do quite a bit of commuting to the city, to Perth City and back, which is 82 kilometers northeast of Perth. The little town of Toodyay, which we live in, is about an hour and 15 minutes northeast of Perth. So we commute back and forth quite often. So that's
what are you doing in the city?
And so the Cenicals, the prayer groups are in the city.
Oh, in the city. Okay.
We have one MFC, one Marian Family Cenical, that exists in Toodyay. Mm-hmm. They're a bit older. They're more Australian, whereas the prayer groups in the city are, I would say, predominantly Asian, actually. Singaporean Chinese, Indonesian Chinese.
Really? Wow.
Malaysian Chinese, and you got Indians, Burmese, and some Hispanics, and it's quite
international.
It's quite international. You can see the Catholicity of the prayer groups, the universality of the church,
right.
in these prayer groups is quite interesting. So we keep very busy there, even though there's only 5 friars in WA.
Wow.
In Western Australia. So that keeps us really busy. On a more like personal level, my interaction I'm very much involved with spending time with youth, because as I mentioned in the previous interview, my passion was skateboarding, and I still skate. I skate I try and get it in every week. That's how I maintain my health, and to be healthy of mind and body is very important. So that's what our founder encourages all the friars to do. He says, our founder says, especially when you're young, maintain your strength, maintain your health.
So it must be you that we see on AirMaria skateboarding.
Yeah, you can. I got a couple of videos. Some of them are a little bit embarrassing, but it's for their sake and not really for mine. Not for my glory, but for their assistance. But for the young people, I got some couple of videos that kind of are a bit. I got some skate videos with the sacred music and.
They're really nice videos. Yeah, they're really neat.
Yeah, I got some good feedback from them, and so I do visit these skate parks. I do try and get there every week, and so I have made lots of friends.
Well, that must be such a sight, for some
it's very
of the
unusual.
kids. Yeah,
it's just like monk, skater, what? This is like,
Yeah, because you don't go in skateboarding duds or anything. You go as you are.
As the song goes, come as you are. So that's how we go. I just go to skate. We as our legislation, says, we are to wear the habit always. So that's what we do. The promise that's attached to wearing the habit always. St. Francis received that promise by our Lord that whoever dies in the habit, very similar to the scapular, the Carmelite scapular, will not suffer eternal damnation. Uh-huh. It's a good sign. It's a sacramental. That if you die wearing that sign, it's a good sign that you are pleasing to God. So we wear the habit always, even while we sleep. So I wear the habit even while I skate. So, and some people say, isn't that hard to skate in? But not really, because it's quite baggy.
So do you get a good response from the kids? Or?
Yeah, at first it's just like, what do we have here? I've had some comments, like, oh, here, the Pope's here, or is that Jesus, or whatever, I mean, it's a cross. Because I don't like to stand out. I mean, as I mentioned in the earlier interview, the first interview, I'm a bit of a loner. Like, I don't like to stand out.
Right.
I like to be hidden away.
I think you stick out on a skateboard.
Oh, I definitely do. I do. I stand out like crazy, like a sore thumb. And so, but that's the, right now I it's a cross, but it's also an unbelievable icebreaker.
Absolutely,
unbelievable icebreaker. I mean, it's just like because when the kids see me skate, they're just like, oh, he's obviously done this before.
Yeah.
Because I just yesterday, 2 days ago, I was with my brother in Front Royal, Virginia. I hadn't seen him for 11 years. Went down there to visit him. And he took me to the local skate park right down the street. And actually, it's customary that you play a game of skate down there if someone asks you. So this guy said, would you like to play a game of skate, And so I said, sure. And I beat him in a game of skate, Of
course, I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, it's just like, basically the game of skate is you set the trick. Whoever sets the trick, you've got to do that trick. And whoever
the challenger has to do with the same thing.
If you get the letters S-K-A-T-E.
Oh, okay. So it's like horse in basketball.
Every time you miss a trick, you get a letter. S-K-A-T-E. And as soon as you spell that word skate, you lose. So you gotta that's how you kind of win or lose. So so I still actually have the skills and the ability to do this. So and you wouldn't believe the conversations. You wouldn't believe the people I have run into. Young and older, not old, but
right.
Don't get me wrong. There's no 60-year-olds there on the. But it's unbelievable what the sort of individuals I've run into there in Perth City. Beautiful people. I have to say that the Australians have, even though I look a bit strange, medieval. in our medieval garb, you know, the 12th century habit, you know, they're very respectful. They're very, you know, it's like they don't know quite what this is all about, but let's give them a chance, you know. And they're very respectful, very kind. And I've made a lot of friends, and it's an unbelievable icebreaker. Outreach, yeah. Because, yeah, it's something, you know, it's something you don't see every day, that's for sure. And
so you're really getting on the kids' level. You know, you're kind of mingling with them and doing the things that they enjoy. And so do you find that you can really open some good dialogues with the kids?
Oh, definitely. It's like, just to give you one example, I was at a skate park. I was coming home. We have a day with Mary every month, and they're in Perth, and I'm sure, you know, our viewers will know what the Day with Mary is from the Friars here in Griswold. And so we have one of those in Perth. And so after a Day with Mary, on my way home, actually my superior and I actually had to go in separate cars. He had to go off and I think make a hospital visit this particular evening. And I had to go back to Toodyay. And on my way back, my superior actually goes, well, why don't you just keep your board in your car, so that in case you
ever pass by
the skate park, you know, you can go for a roll, you know. So he's very good like that, you know. He's so that's what I do. I keep the board in the car, and on my way back from the Day with Mary to the skate park that was on the way, and I met up with this guy. He was a former cardiologist. He was 30 years old, former cardiologist. He's Greek. He's actually born in Greece, but he grew up in came as a child to Perth, and he's a very knowledgeable man. He was skating there, really good skater, and I met up with him. And it kind of grew a little bit late, you know, because it was, basically the day with Mary was a 9-to-5 job, you know.
Right.
So I was exhausted from the Day with Mary. I said all my prayers, you know. And so after a hard skate, you know, he bought me a Guinness, you know.
Oh my gosh.
We were sitting there in the skate park. We were both having a Guinness, you know. And we were talking. You wouldn't believe what we were talking about. There we were. We were still perspiring with sweat, having this Guinness, and we're talking about, you know, the Blessed Virgin and the issue. He was instructing me how to pronounce the proper way of saying the Greek words of the Blessed Virgin, and he knew Our Lady like inside and out, and he's just like, you don't say it right. You gotta, you know, he was saying you gotta say it like this, Theotokos. You know, he was explaining to me how to say it properly in Greek, you know, and we were talking about the Blessed Virgin and the Church and everything else. This guy's Greek Orthodox, and he loved the faith, and it was amazing. I was like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
This is like. And he was an awesome skater, former cardiologist.
How does someone former cardiologist who's only 38?
Yeah, he was a genius. This guy.
Wow.
He was a genius. His last name, his name was John Mavromaditis, and he used to participate in heart surgery, and he used to have to do the dirty work of doing the incisions or something like that, you know. But he left all that aside, and he wanted to do a lot of traveling. So he went to America. I told him no, I was from America, and he did a lot of traveling there. So we had a nice conversation. But that's just one example of some of the things that some of the instances that the experiences that I've had there at the skate park, and, you know, I've met, you know, chief executive officers of major mining firms at the skate park with their kids, and he's like, he gave me his business card and he says, please, let's have lunch, you know. He's like, I worship under the Anglican banner, but, you know, he wanted to be friends, and.
But then I give him a call.
Yeah, I said, you know, I gave him Miraculous Medals. I usually pass out Miraculous Medals, and I make the joke, you know, we don't have business cards, we hand out medals, you know. And so that's a silver bullet, you know, that I shoot him with. But it's amazing, though, because I went to World Youth Day in Sydney, and then there was the two follow-ups of World Youth Day. This last July, I was in Sydney, and the kids I was skating with there in Hyde Park, and right in front of the St. Mary's Cathedral. You know, we had a game of skate with those kids there, and I actually had medals on me with actual strings on them.
Wow.
And all the kids there, just after we had a nice hard skate in front of the cathedral. I know. I showed them the medal. I said, you may not know what this is. This is a medal of Saint Mary. But very simple language, you know. This is a medal of the Blessed Virgin, Saint Mary, and this is a cathedral of Saint Mary. So they make the connection.
Right.
Just simple, you know. And they all, you know, they kind of all bow their heads like mules, you know, like that. And I put it all on them, and they're just more than happy to wear it, you know. And yeah, it's amazing. It's just amazing, you know. Grace is. God works in very strange ways, and in
we
very
can't
wonderful
plan it.
ways.
We can't plan it.
We can't plan it. It's just His ways are
way better than ours.
Yeah, or wonderful ways, and you get to have a good time at the same time. You get to have a good time. But the cross is also there because initially you're just like, it's like you go to a skate park and I've got to overcome my shyness, and just and start skating. Just pretend. Just pretend. What I do. It's kind of funny because I got to kind of play a mental game with myself. Well, when I go to these skate parks, I kind of pretend that I'm in New York City, because no one cares what you do in New York City. You could wear pardon the expression, you could wear a toilet bowl on your head in New York City, and no one couldn't care less. So I kind of pretend that just pretend you're in New York and you're just doing what you're going to do, and so it kind of takes the edge off of the self-consciousness,
Right.
And then once I get skating, then it's like, once you get the blood flowing, you're just like, and then people start, looking,
seeing you having fun,
and they start asking questions, where you're from, and then one thing leads to another, and you make a lot of friends. And one kid actually said, I have no religion, but I am very disposed to...
Really?
Yeah. And actually, just before I left to come here, to this 1 month visit here back in America, a pro skater, he's sponsored by 5 different companies there in Australia. One of them is, he rides for Vans. I think he rides for Nike as well. I went to the shop there to get a skateboard bag, because you can't take it exposed on the plane, of course.
Sure.
And so I saw him before. He had a knee injury, and I asked him how he's doing, and he told me that he's still healing from it. He's a really good guy, and he goes, he's like, I don't want to exaggerate here, but he's kind of like, amongst the skaters there in Perth, he's like the Tiger Woods.
The Tony Hawk.
The Tony Hawk, yeah, thank you for, correcting me. The Tony Hawk of Perth there, and he's an unbelievable skater. And so he basically said, I would like to come to your church. I would like, he goes, I don't want to come there like on my own. I was a bit hesitant because I feel like I might be judged. But he goes, around you, I feel very comfortable.
Oh, wow.
Do you have anything I can read? I was just like, whoa. I go, I never bring anything with me in a car to like hand out, like, here you go, right. I don't bring, But I brought one book with me in my green little bag for my own stuff, because when I go to the city, sometimes I bring a spiritual book with me to do my meditation. And one of my favorite books is The Victories of the Martyrs by St. Alphonsus Liguori. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, wait a minute. I was like, I've got The Victories of the Martyrs in my bag. So I ran out there. I said, just hang on a second. I ran into the car, came out, and I gave him The Victories of the Martyrs by St. Alphonsus. Wow. And it's probably I thought to myself, that's probably the best thing you can read. All the saints who have laid their lives down to bear witness to the authenticity of the Catholic faith. And I said, have a look at this.
That was pretty powerful.
Yeah, I said, don't, just take this in bite-sized chapters. Don't read it all in one night. But he goes, okay, I'll do that. And this guy's unbelievable. I mean, he's just like whoa. I mean.
Wow, you're winning a superstar, for God.
Yeah, I was just like, here I am, just getting a bag to put my board in. And he's just like, do you have anything to read? And it's just, it's just the Holy Spirit is moving in very mysterious ways. As our Lord said, that conversation that he had with Nicodemus in the beginning of St. John's Gospel, he said, the wind blows where it will. You don't know you don't know where it comes from, and you don't know where it is going. But so it is with everyone who is born of the Spirit. And it's so true. You have no idea when the Holy Spirit is going to move in someone's life, and where they're taking them and where they're going to lead them. It's very interesting.
The weird thing is, though, when you look back on things, you can see the perfect order of it. It's like, with hindsight, it was like, oh yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
But as you're in the turmoil, it's like, what?
Yeah, you're trying to make sense of it all. It's like a seamless garment. It's a beautiful fabric that it's just like, oh, okay. You see all the little stitches going together.
Yeah.
And then when you look back, it's like, oh, okay, that's a nice, beautiful curtain you made there, But yeah, it's just, we can only see it in hindsight because we don't have God's perspective on things. Sometimes things look a little bit imprudent.
Right.
So sometimes things look a little bit like, oh, I wouldn't do it that way. But you look back, it's like, oh wait a minute, that was
the best thing.
That's the way it should have been,
Yeah.
Sometimes we think we can improve upon God's ways, but it's like no,
They kind of got to go with the flow.
Yeah. He said, my ways are not your ways. it's, you know, it's as high as the heavens are above the earth, so high are my ways above your ways, you know, and my thoughts above your thoughts. Because what, you know, really, as he said, you know, in the gospel, you know, or somewhere in the scriptures, I'm not sure where, but he says, you know, what, you know, man considers important, God holds in contempt sometimes, you know. So very often our ways are like, no. You know, that's why it's so important really to move with the Holy Spirit in the ways that He wants you to.
Right, in perfect
humility. Even though sometimes you have to expose yourself and sometimes humiliating ways.
Right,
you know?
right. I mean, because you'd rather be a hermit.
I'd rather be a hermit, or I'd rather be a hermit, or at the skate park in jeans and a t-shirt and a ball cap. You know, not in a
incognito.
Incognito, not floating around in a potato sack. You know, it's just like, who wants to be exposed like that? You know, this is like the Lord's ways are not our ways. But it's been very interesting in Australia. You know, it's a different mentality over there, but
is it palpable? I mean, you can tell the difference between the people in Australia versus Americans.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, to a large extent, they're the same, very similar. I mean, we're all the same.
Yeah, right.
We all share the same human nature. We all, you know, if you pinch any one of us, you know, we all say ouch. But there's different cultural differences, you know, and but yeah, it's just. But I have to say that it is a very interesting and it's a huge eye opener to see your own country from outside. Right, from somebody else's perspective. Yeah, and it's a beautiful thing to be able to help another country. It's a beautiful thing to be a missionary. You know, so I've appreciated that to a large extent. Well, it sounds like you're doing a great job too, and then also getting to skate while you're doing it. Yeah, get the best of both worlds. Yeah, as they say, you know? Obviously placed in a very perfect spot. Yeah, it's just yeah. I try and cooperate to the best of my ability with God's will. I'm not always perfect at it, but I pray that I can continue to do so. So. And we will pray for you too. Thank you. We really enjoyed having you here with us. That's exactly what I need. Thank you very much, Alan. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I know hopefully everybody got to see both episodes because the first one was really good as well as this one. And I hope you have a nice break here for, a month you said? Yes. And then you go back? Yeah, the month's almost over, so I'll be returning pretty soon. So thank you so much for having me. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. We hope that you've learned something, a little bit about the way God works in very mysterious ways. Maybe you figure out where He's calling you. The best place to find that is in the quiet recesses of the Eucharistic Adoration Chapel. And we hope when you look in the mirror next time, you realize yours too is the face of pro-life. Join us again next time.